Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into social jet lag, the hidden science of consistent energy. Think about a typical hard-working professional. Let's call him Alex. Alex is desperately trying to beat that chronic Monday morning exhaustion. We've all been there, right? You push yourself to the absolute limit all week, you finally make it to Saturday, and you think, I'm doing my body such a massive favor by sleeping in. But what if that exact thing, the very act of trying to catch up on sleep, is literally the reason Alex is chronically exhausted? Let's unpack the hidden science of consistent energy and figure out how to permanently stop dragging ourselves out of bed at the start of every single week.
So why does sleeping in make Monday so much harder? Well, we all know Alex's struggle of grinding all week and crashing on the weekend. But here is the core issue, and honestly, it's pretty counterintuitive. Your weekend recovery strategy is actually causing your Monday exhaustion. You see, we tend to view our tiredness on Monday as a Monday problem, but the research shows us it's really a Friday creation. The absolute strangest part of all this is that extra weekend sleep is not a cure for fatigue at all. It's actually the catalyst for it. When Alex is struggling to get his brain working on a Monday, he isn't suffering from a lack of sleep. He's suffering from a lack of consistency.
Scientists actually have a fascinating term for this exact phenomenon. They call it social jet lag. Basically, social jet lag is when you are operating on two completely different time zones without ever packing a bag or leaving your house. Think about it. During the week, your body is locked into this rigid schedule, right? But when the weekend hits, just by sleeping in, Alex is totally tricking his biological clock into thinking he's hopped on a flight and traveled 3 hours east. And man, the biological chaos happening under the hood here is just wild. Let's say during the week, Alex wakes up at 6 a.m. sharp for work. Then Saturday rolls around and he sleeps in until 10 a.m. Now he thinks he just got 4 extra hours of awesome rest. But what he's actually done is forcefully shifted his entire circadian rhythm by 4 whole hours. His body suddenly has absolutely no idea what day it is. Because of this massive swing, his internal energy production systems completely fracture. The patterns his brain relies on to keep him sharp and alert, they just vanish.
And here's where it gets crazy. This disruption is actually significantly worse than real travel jet lag. Why? Well, it comes down to the number 52. You aren't just taking a rough flight across the country once or twice a year for a vacation, right? You are subjecting your delicate nervous system to a jarring, massive time zone shift 52 times a year, every single week. Alex creates this jet lag, suffers through the brain fog, finally adjusts around Wednesday or Thursday, and then, boom, he immediately does it to himself all over again.
Okay, this brings us to a major myth bust that absolutely changes everything we think we know about rest. Your body doesn't store sleep like a bank account. We all have this deeply ingrained belief that we can just save up sleep on the weekend to pay off the deficit we ran up during the week. But guys, human biology does not do accounting. You literally cannot catch up. Treating your sleep like a bank account doesn't create a recovery solution. Instead, it actively creates a recovery debt. And that debt completely wrecks your nervous system and makes true restorative rest basically impossible.
Now, this isn't just a theory either. Let's look at a massive study that observed 2,300 Korean adolescents. Researchers tracked what exactly happened when their weekday and weekend sleep schedules fluctuated. And the findings? Absolutely staggering. They proved that even a tiny 30-minute swing in sleep schedules correlated with measurable increases in mood aggression, emotional withdrawal, and significant cognitive drops. Think about that. Just a 30-minute change is enough to throw off your brain's performance.
The specific data here really shows the immense scale of this cognitive impact. People with large weekday-to-weekend sleep differences reported a staggering 40% more concentration difficulty than the folks who just woke up at the same time every day. 40%! That is huge. They didn't just report feeling a little bit sleepier, they were experiencing functionally different cognitive performance. They also showed 30% higher emotional withdrawal. So this totally explains why Alex can sleep 8 whole hours on a Saturday and still feel entirely depleted by Monday morning. It was never about the total hours he was getting. It's all about the pattern disruption.
So to really understand why this is happening to Alex, we need to look at 2 absolutely critical mechanisms, melatonin and cortisol. Your circadian rhythm is essentially your body's 24-hour internal timer. It operates entirely in the background, kind of like your phone's operating system. It completely controls when your brain produces melatonin to make you sleepy, when cortisol spikes to wake you up, and when your core body temperature drops. The really important thing to grasp here is that this rhythm isn't controlled by your conscious thoughts. You can't just will yourself to have energy, right? This system relies on light exposure, meal timing, and crucially, a highly consistent sleep schedule.
Let's track how this low-grade trauma basically compounds across Alex's week. On Monday, his cortisol rhythm is totally confused from his weekend sleep-in, leaving him feeling anxious, usually without even knowing why. By Wednesday, the sleep debt from the weekend finally starts to metabolize, but his internal clock still hasn't fully reset, so he feels both tired and wired at the same time. And by Friday, well, his body is so functionally sleep-deprived that his hormones start going completely haywire, perfectly setting him up for another disastrous weekend. It's a trap.
Yeah, by the end of the work week, those hormones take a serious hit. Because your body is so incredibly starved for predictable energy, it starts desperately looking for energy elsewhere, namely in your fridge. Your system starts pumping out more ghrelin, which is your hunger-inducing hormone, and it drastically drops the production of leptin, the hormone that actually signals when you're full. So Alex is physiologically locked into a cycle of overeating. That leads to terrible sleep on Friday night, which leads right back to binge sleeping on Saturday morning, starting the whole toxic cycle over again.
All right, let's move into the next section. Part 1, the competitive advantage, reclaiming your edge.
Look, if you're an ambitious professional trying to maintain a real competitive edge, this chronic pattern of emotional dysregulation is a massive liability. Operating with social jet lag is literally softening your edge exactly during the week when you need it the most. The research gives us a crystal clear directive here. Sleep consistency beats sleep duration every single time. If you want to know the secret of people who have the highest, most predictable energy throughout the week, I promise you, it's not that they sleep more hours, it's that they maintain relentless consistency. Your nervous system just wants to know exactly when the finish line is every single day so it can optimize your energy output.
Which brings us to the solution. Part 2, the action plan, the 60-minute rule. So to replace that weekend binge sleeping, we look to a brilliantly simple scientifically backed boundary, 60 minutes. To lock in a functional rhythm and make your energy entirely predictable, there should be absolutely no more than a 60-minute difference between your weekday and weekend wake times. That is it. That's the secret. If Alex wakes up at 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, he needs to wake up between 6:30 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. on a Sunday. This strict window ensures his body never switches time zones, meaning his Monday mornings will never feel catastrophic again. Okay, here is your new daily energy stabilizing checklist for optimizing your performance. For years, you've probably tried sleep apps, fancy supplements, or downing extra coffee, right? But all of those are just treating the symptom, the tiredness. To actually fix the cause, you have to eliminate circadian rhythm chaos. So, enforce that 60-minute rule. Prioritize predictability over catching a few extra hours of low-quality sleep. High performers really don't need endless Monday motivation because they've stopped fighting their circadian rhythm and finally started working alongside it.
So here's how you and our buddy Alex can put this into practice right away. I want you to try this 2-week trial plan. For just 2 weekends, keep your wake time strictly within that 60-minute window. Track your daily energy, monitor your mood, and then evaluate your Monday morning clarity after 14 days. Just by giving your nervous system the predictable schedule it is absolutely begging for, you will start to see a measurable physical sharpening of your cognitive resources. And ironically, your weekends will actually feel more restorative because your body finally knows what's coming.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. Once you finally feel the profound difference that consistent energy brings, you have a choice to make. Are you ready to stop the endless cycle of social jet lag? Will your next Monday be a punishment you just have to endure? Or will it be a powerful strategic advantage? The science is clear on this one, guys. Consistency is your greatest tool. Start implementing the 60-minute rule this weekend and reclaim your energy.